just imagine with me for one moment that everything in your life was hunky-dory. Just imagine for a moment that in your whole, how many years of existence of being you, that you never ever had an argument. Or perhaps, for example, I'm 26. In 26 years of life, I have never ever made a mistake, whether that be at work, whether that be remembering an important date, whether that be remembering to bring a certain book to play at a performance. If we're honest, the reality is every single one of us has made a mistake. Every single one of us has had to go through something quite painful in order to learn from that, to grow into who we are today, to grow into becoming a professional musician, or not just a professional, but just to be a human being yourself. The person you are now is thanks to your mistakes, thanks to those things that we might call failures, but are actually the necessary stumblings that bring us to the place where we're at now. And yet we are still growing where we are at now. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that failure is necessary to growth and personal growth. Actually, if I said that, I think I would be wrong. But at the same time, I don't say it's not. It's one of the ways in which we learn. But there are a multiplicity of other ways in which we can learn. For example, reading books, going on training courses, listening to the advice of parents and other professionals in our life, gaining wisdom, learning from other people's mistakes. But there is also this thing of learning from your own mistakes. And when you go through these times, when you go through these difficulties, when you go through your own mistakes, the things that you're responsible for, you find that you learn different methods of thinking. You see things through a different lens. And today, a few of my students, I was teaching them some 5-finger exercises at the piano to get their technique right, and their finger shapes, and to get a little bit more flexibility and strength in the hand and the movement of the wrist. And my students really struggled. They just, I don't know how to do this. And they kept having moments where the fingers moved out of position and things like that. And I said, I said to them, just calm down. Don't rush at it. You see, that was one of the things they were doing. When they came toward difficulty, they started to rush. And it got worse, and they started to get tense, and it got worse. And they got tenser and rushed even more. And then we started to hear these horrible atonal kind of sounds coming out of the piano. And I was like, oh, stop. And these are some of the sort of knee-jerk reactions that we have when we face difficulty. We often try and rush through it. We think, oh gosh, no one wants to be stuck in the mud. No one wants to be standing around on hot coals and getting burnt. In reality, if you don't stop to think, you won't know how to get out. And so you might jump off to the side and you're safe for a bit, but actually you're still in the same position. And the way to move forward is to observe, see what's going on in that situation, and know how to get out of it, but get out of it properly rather than taking a shortcut, because the reality is there are no shortcuts in life. Further down the line, you're going to find out, actually, that shortcut I took about 20 years ago, it's come back to bite me in my bum, right? That's the reality. The second thing that my students did that is a great picture of what everyone does is they got tense. They started to freeze as if that was going to help, and get anxious and worried and start to do something with their body to compensate for the challenge they were facing. And so when we do that, actually, what we're doing to the muscles and to the movement of the arm is we're restricting it. And so when we get worried and anxious, we restrict our potential to thrive. Hear that? You restrict your potential to thrive by starting to get worried and anxious. Now, By no means, don't get me wrong, worry and anxiety is part and parcel of life, but we shouldn't act from that place. That's a reaction. And what we need in life is not reactions, but actions. Every reaction in history has always had an ugly spin on it. And the reality is we need to see properly by stepping on the side, enduring in the moment of difficulty, seeing things from a different perspective and relaxing and moving from a place of peace. Now, what was the third knee-jerk reaction of my students? I can't do it! The third one is don't get stuck in a place of defeat. You don't have to be defeated. In fact, there's no situation in life that you will face that you cannot come out with at least a smile on your face, or without at least knowing that I've been through that and I can make it through. I can make something of my life even though I've been through that. There's not one situation you're ever going to face. Even the most tragic of situations, there will always be a reason for being alive. There is always hope. And so, don't give up. If you give up, there is no hope. And that's because you've not stepped back to look. You've not stood in it and seen what the issue and the challenge and the difficulties are in order to work out a solution. And you've not tried. You have to try. For the sake of humanity, for the sphere of people that rely on you, whether you know they rely on you or not, there are people who rely on you. And you need to keep your head. And you can keep your head. Take a moment, breathe, assess the situation. And then out of action, out of an assessment that leads to some kind of concrete plan, act. Don't react. Act. And then do it triumphantly. But even if I fail, even if it gets all messy, doesn't matter. I'm going to keep pushing forward no matter what. And that is my encouragement to you. Take a step back, assess. Number 2, relax. Act, don't react. And thirdly, know there is hope. No matter what you're going through, you can get through it. Thank you.